Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I got a sweater on again after 90 degrees this week. It's so nice to have my new sweater, new white sweater. My husband said, "Oh, that white looks good on you." He says, I don't wear white a lot because I'll wear it twice and it'll be, smudged. I'm like a little 3-year-old. This can't keep me clean. I should just embrace that. So welcome, welcome, embracing how we are today. Thank you for being here. And to those of you who are new or with us in real time or a little bit later, I think Nancy's joining us. Nina, you often join us. I wonder if Linda Kleckner, if you hear me say this, sometimes you live overseas. I'd love to hear from you if you're joining. So let's begin with a bell. Sound arriving. We just arrive and the sound, notice how the sound maybe just brings you right here. Sound of the bell. And I believe over this, even over this amazing technology, that resonance that I feel here in my space, those of you listening may feel that pretty strongly as well. And today, I'm going to share with you being on the ground, a movement being on the ground, much like last week, almost a step. I almost wish I had done this practice before the one we did last week. And this involves imagery of a clock, which we used a little last week. So I'm going to have you transition, holding on to that presence that you might already feel. You just need a easy place to lie down. Knees can be bent. If it's comfortable to have your legs stretched out, go ahead and do that. If you are on a bed, that's fine. It's different. If you're in a chair, I would recommend, I don't know, either way, either sitting up without leaning back or leaning back, either way. But lying down is the best. And you don't need to see me. I should be able to give you the instructions verbally without you having to see me. Simple movements we'll be doing. And then, I'll ring the bell again in this new position so we can feel the sound. And again, in this new moment where we've just stopped and re-arrived, for some of us, and maybe this is true for you, just this lying down, different than when we go to our bed every night, or maybe if you're a napper, maybe this is different, especially being on the floor. The hardness, the evenness provides an incredible support and feedback. And you might notice just how the elements of your body, the physical elements, how they are responding. The shoulders, neck and head area. And as we were noticing, there's also probably noticing the streams of breath and how that those currents of the streams of breath are circulating and changing. Just like we notice wind. It was quite windy here this morning, big gusts of wind. And I looked up to a tree that we worry about its branches falling, but it was holding steady, but just the smaller branches were quite fluttering and swinging. Same way, we can observe inside our body the movements, even as we're pretty still, the movements within. And follow to feel down your spine and perhaps the hip area. And again, you may either have legs stretched out or bent at the knees, either is fine. The two sides, maybe you may be registering the differences that happen that maybe we're not all that aware of as we go about our day, but may become more prominent when we get still, when we pay attention in the deeper way that we are here today. Moving your attention down the legs, knees, shins and calves, and into the ankles and feet. And this attention that we're giving the body is so related to the earth in one sense of relatedness, as we have the same elements. The chemical elements that we study in chemistry classes are similar in the body and in the earth. The calcium, I'm forgetting other ones, but the magnesium, the minerals. And also the more invisible but very palpable gravitational pull that we feel. It causes objects to fall or drop and holds us so that we're not floating up off the ground, as fun as that might sound and that visual might be. So as we're going through our practice today, and we'll have some movements done in a way that make them feel nice for us, and delightful even, and harmonious and integrated is where we want to set our sights. Sort of like setting those sights is a little like setting your GPS if you're going somewhere. My brother-in-law once traveled some years ago, still maybe 5, maybe even 10 years ago, from New York to here. And he had didn't pay attention to the fact that he selected a site by default that avoided tolls. And so they came all these back ways. So similarly, we set our sights, and what we'd like for this movement to have is a feeling of integration, a feeling of our whole selves, and a feeling of harmony, and an enjoyable journey. So maybe place your hands on your lower belly. And last week we focused on this area as well, the area where I often envision as a golden ball inside there. Golden ball that allows a lot of movement in all directions. And having our hands there for a moment is helpful. And if you have your legs stretched out, keep them stretched out. And if it's comfortable to go from bent knee to straight legs, do that. And if you need the bent knees, go back to that. But with the straight legs or bent knees, just begin to roll this ball forward and back. Oh, let me back up. Clocks. Imagine, so I've got a golden ball, but now if we take it 2D, we can imagine an analog clock, the clocks we grew up, most of us here grew up with, where you've got the 1 through 12 on a circle, the 60 minutes, the 12 hours and 60 minutes. And imagine that the 6 is more toward your tailbone, toward your feet, and the 12 is more toward your head. And imagine that we're sort of pressing, as we roll the ball, we're pressing a line on the back from the 12 to the 6, back and forth. Just slowly, and let the movement be not too big. We don't need to create a large movement or a strong movement. Mostly a fluid movement is what we're looking for. And just noticing as you make this movement, is it smooth? I haven't been doing this movement so much in the last months, but I've come back to doing it this past week, and I've noticed it's got a few creaks in it, a few creaky spots. And notice perhaps what you feel in your jaw, where we have a similar sphere, a similar orb that may be mimicking, maybe pulled by this motion. All right, let it go. That was maybe a couple minutes of exploring that movement. Just let it go into stillness, into a stop. And what you notice when we stop, is like a mini meditation. In today's practice, I may not get to a seated meditation as I didn't last week, but these mini pauses serve, even though they're shorter than, say, a 5 or 10-minute sitting, they're just as valuable. Notice your breathing. Notice whatever you might be noticing at the shoulders, between the shoulder blades, at the back of the neck, inside the mouth. And in the low back, in the legs, the feet. And then let's come again, maybe this time bending the knees if you were straight-legged for the first iteration. And come back to finding this same movement. It'll feel quite different. It's amazing when we're doing these small movements, small and slow and very observed, gently observing, not like notice if you're furrowing your brow literally or figuratively. And I've seen this in cartoons. I really didn't see many people doing it. I think it was in the Peanuts cartoon where Linus would have his tongue sticking out when he's focusing. And I have seen people do that, but not often. I think I caught myself doing it once. Anyway, all signs of all the oomph, that concentration necessary, which is good, but we actually don't need to tighten up so much to be effective. We can be more relaxed as we do what we're doing. Okay, and let that movement pause and just feel. You don't keep your knees bent, just pausing here a moment. And so that was between the 12 and 6. And now let's go to envision, just on a clock face, between the right and left hips, we're between the 3 and the 9. It doesn't really matter which one till we start to get to the diagonal ones, that those numbers will matter a little. But the 3 and the 9. And now imagine, you don't even need to start moving yet. Your body will follow. Imagine rolling this orb of your lower belly and hip area, low back, so the orb rolls and you press on the 3 to 9 line, the diagonal across the clock. And less is more. And you might choose, as I introduced a lot last week, or I've introduced, I hadn't been using this for a few months, this idea of just imagining. You might prefer, there's an incredible depth and neurological, neuromuscular benefit to just imagining, envisioning the movement. It's fine also if you're moving or if there's a tiny bit of movement or a bigger movement, that's fine. All of those are fine options. Between the 3 and the 9. This one may be a little more challenging. We do this movement when we're walking, anything we're doing, when we're fluttering our legs, when we're swimming. But to do it like this may feel a little different. And if you find yourselves challenged, just see if you can relax, allow the frustrated feeling or the challenging feeling, the I don't know if I'm doing it right feeling, whichever of those might be arising. And let's stop. Just pause. Notice what you feel at your head, your neck, your shoulders, your middle back, lower back, deep inside the body toward the heart, lungs, digestive organs, elimination organs, reproductive organs, and into the hips and legs and feet, and back up toward the shoulder axis, down the arms, elbows, wrists, hands, the wholeness of yourself. And take a few movements of that same direction. Again, knees bent. Oh, you also could have kept the legs, you could have straightened them. When we pause, you can modify your position. And 3 to 9 again. Did I say 3 to 6? 3 to 9, that movement, rolling side to side. And sometimes you can play with going really fast, like really jiggly fast. It almost helps to go jiggly rather than an incremental increase, like just go really, really fast, jiggly. That may feel easy, it may not feel easy. And in all this, the slowness approximates stillness in a way, comes towards stillness. And you may find various thinking or emotion that pops in or comes in and plops itself down. As much as you can, let that visitor, that emotional or cognitive thinking, imagining, remembering, dreaming, worrying visitor, let it be. Just let it like take a seat in the big space of yourself, maybe as a field. In a way, honoring it, that it's here, it must have a reason, it must be a reason it's here, but not choosing to interact with it if possible. And if not possible, if it grabs you, can you just give yourself a break about it? Be gentle with yourself and forgiving about that you can't stay on task. Okay, and so coming back to the 3, let's see, we were in motion. Pause again while I was talking. And now let's take a diagonal, it's like from the 2 to the, what's opposite the 2? 2 to the 7 or 8, or roughly the 8 to the through, no, 1, 2 to, I have to draw the clock in my face. 2 to the 7 or the, no, 1 to 7, 2 to 8. Oh yeah, what makes 6? 1 to 7, 2 to 8, something like that. And this one you might, again, check what's happening in the jaw and the heart area where we've got orbs we can imagine there because of the architecture of our bodies. and the connectedness pulls at them as well. You could even imagine orbs at the wrists, at the elbows, at the throat, the pelvic floor, the knees, the two hips. Let that movement go. And just let's stretch out here. Stretch out the legs if that's comfortable, or come to a complete stop. I received a little lesson in a practice of stopping this week. And what I'm realizing right now as I'm guiding you, I think I avoid using the word stop. I think I use pause a lot more. And I'm just noticing that. I just noticed there's something kind of interesting about that. So I'm using the word stop more today. Full stop, like a period. Okay, come back to knees bent, or if you want, you can take, we're going to resume that movement of the 1-7 or 2-8 diagonal for a few repetitions. If you want to try it legs straight, it may create a different limits that move different parts. Bent knees, I think, is a little preferable, but straight legs could be an interesting change up. And then pause just enough to sort of reset and go to the other diagonal across the clock, or diameter, sort of a diagonal. So if it was a square, that would be 11 to 5 or 10 to 4, roughly that swath across a clock face. And I want to just bring up something that popped in my mind about emotion. Sometimes for me in this practice, I was wrestling with grief. I think it's still there, but actually these practices have helped me release the grief in a way, let it flow. I was taking classes with a Feldenkrais teacher. This is the type of movement we're doing. And so often during and after class, grief would come up for me so potently. I even stopped taking the classes. It was I was avoiding it. And I'm sharing that because these kinds of things can happen in these practices. Emotion can come up, and I would invite you to not be afraid of that, or see if you can allow yourself to relax with it. And if it feels overwhelming, just again, let it set in a chair or even in a closet or whatever you need to put it in, a bit away from you. It's still yours, it's still part of you, but you just want to make yourself feel safe with it, or feel like you can manage it. It won't feel offended by, well, that was my experience. It didn't feel offended by being put over a bit farther from me. It actually becomes helpful to manage it, to find how we can relate to it better and allow it to be. And when we do that, it can often flow and be less potent, have less power over us. Okay, let it come to a stop. Often the stops for me feel so delicious. Notice what it feels like for you. Like we've come to a new place, but a little more, I'm giving these words, and maybe you can give words to what you're feeling. And take your time finding the words. I'm going to model this, and you can do it in your own space. If you feel comfortable with it, even say them out loud. It's very helpful because then you hear it, you pull in another sense of processing it. So for me, I almost feel like the windows have been open. There's more circulation, fresh air. oftentimes it's not as palpable this time. It's just a different expression. Oftentimes I feel more relaxed, but that windows open, fresh air coming through is the real resonant words for me. So find your words, and if you say them out loud and you find, oh, they're not quite right, it doesn't kind of give you that really clear bell sound. Wait for a little bit, watch, listen to the whole feel of every part of you, all of you, and see if a more accurate set of words. Not too many words, but just like poetic, like a little haiku or poetic. It could even be just like I expressed, the imagery, or even gestures. If you might gesture with your arms or your face, your body, of what the experience of stopping has been now. Okay, one last time of movement, and I'll leave it up to you to play with it. I think next week we'll continue with the clock, but I promise you some seated meditation time. But if you are familiar with this movement and you want to add the circling going around the perimeter of the clock in arcs or all of it, just kind of rolling your whole ball, you could play with that. So for a couple minutes, play with any of these diagonals, diameters, maybe they're more accurate. The 12 to 6, the 3 to 9, the 2 to 7, the 11 to 5, any of those. Or any way you want to play with this orb, this clock idea as we move through time and stop time together today. Breathing, letting yourself welcome whatever visitors come. And about another 4 breaths, so you might even pause and then resume movement. And then before we pause for a bit of stillness at the very end. As you come to stillness, and maybe you'll stay where you are, I highly recommend that. But you could also shift to coming up to sitting for our closing. I'll read the poem, ring the bell, and we'll complete this practice together. You're also welcome, especially, well, you're at home, you can do what you like. Those of you on the Zoom now, or if you're on the recording, you could just stay where you are and do a longer movement practice, or come up to sitting and continue your sitting practice after I finish this particular practice. Mary Oliver writes on meditating, sort of. Meditation, so I've heard, is best accomplished if you entertain a certain strict posture. Frankly, I prefer to lounge under a tree. So why should I think I could ever be successful? Some days I fall asleep or land in that even better place, half asleep, where the world spring, summer, autumn, winter, flies through my mind in its hearty ascent and its uncompromising descent. So I just lie like that while distance and time reveal their true attitudes. They never heard of me and never will or ever need to. Of course, I wake up finally thinking, how wonderful to be who I am, made out of earth and water, my own thoughts, my own fingerprints, all that glorious, temporary stuff. I think I'll chew on that poem this week. I'm loving the ascent and descent, the time and distance, and the glorious temporary stuff. And the permission to meditate lying under a tree. I'd bring some bug spray. And finally, to close the practice, you might literally or figuratively bring your hands together, palms together at the heart, or one palm on the heart and the other hand on top, and bow to yourself, to each other. And I'm grateful for all of you, new friends and longtime friends coming to this practice with me today. And I thank Sun and Moon for being one of the key ingredients in bringing us together here. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye through the recordings, and then those of you who can, please do stay a little, say a few words, or just hang out in the fun